I'm Mika Madness, and today I'm bringing you my top 5 picks for the scariest horror movies with evil dolls. If there's one thing you should know about me, know this. Dolls absolutely creep me out. And while I love them in horror movies, I do not want them in my room at night, sitting on the edge of my bed, staring back at me with those emotionless eyes. Ugh, and a note to my future children. Do not ask me for a 1 to 3 foot human-like shell housing a demonic spirit trying to take residence up in my body.
My name is Talkie Tina, and I'm beginning to hate you.
Speaking of body-snatching dolls, coming in at number 5 is Trilogy of Terrah's Amelia. Amelia was part of the made-for-television anthology horror film first aired March 4th, 1975, starring the amazing Karen Black.
Boy, are you ugly.
She proceeds to talk crap about him to his face, which is kind of a bold thing to do to someone who is literally named He Who Kills.
There's a golden chain wrapped around it to keep the spirit from making the doll come to life.
Seriously, a necklace doesn't seem like a well-thought-out plan to contain an evil doll, and my sentiment proves to be true when the chain actually falls off and Zuni's ready for blood, or just to be really annoying. I actually believed her earth-shattering fear of a small doll with what looks like a butter knife slicing at her ankles. Nothing a pair of Tims can't handle. Even with the Zuni doll's limited attack moves, he proves to be super scary when you realize that cooking him does not get rid of him. Because inhaling his gaseous evilness will give him the ability to inhabit your body, turning you into the crouching tiger, hidden dragon of death, stabbing at your oak wood floors, flashing your sharp grills. Well, I guess on the bright side, Zuni gets to hold a big knife now. Number 4 is Annabelle Creation. For me, this is the best movie out of the whole Conjuring universe. Sure, it isn't a perfect movie, but the prequel delivers way more psychological horror than relying on cheap jump scares.
She was taken from us at an early age.
We learn more about the doll maker Samuel Mullins and his wife Esther. Their little daughter Annabelle was hit by a car, and they are soon visited by something they believe to be their daughter's spirit. The spirit asks if they can get into one of the dolls so they can be with them forever. Years later, with the demon doll locked in their daughter's old room, they invite an orphanage to take residence in their home. Not cool. One little orphan girl, Janice, with polio, decides to sneak into the forbidden locked room with an evil doll.
Locked, and it stays that way.
He really thought telling a little kid not to go into the secret locked room was going to keep her from going into the cool secret locked room. I'm really starting to think the Mullins are really bad with children.
After me. The devil.
Number 3, Robert. Robert is based off real-life events in which the Otto family claimed to have experienced with a vintage doll named Robert. Now, just like what allegedly happened in real life, Robert the doll was given to the young son of the family by a disgruntled housekeeper. Robert vandalized the house, runs around maniacally laughing through the night, is a complete jerk because he puts the blame on the little boy Gene. Robert is actually a terrible movie, and this version of him looks like Annabelle with a bad haircut. But what truly makes Robert the doll frightening is that it's based off of a real, true-life story. Legend has it, if you visit the real Robert the doll in the museum and you take his photograph without asking for his permission, bad things will happen to you. So maybe the makers of this film should have asked permission before making a terrible movie. Luckily, the real deal Robert makes his depiction in this movie scary enough. Number 2, Child's Play. There have been many Chucky movies made. He even has a lady and babies eventually, but the scariest one of them all is Child's Play, the first one right out the gate. Taking place in the streets of Chicago, this movie had a lot more grittiness and lacked the colors and silliness we later see in the series.
Give it up, Ray! It's over!
It introduced me, a 4-year-old, to Charles Lee Ray, a voodoo-obsessed serial killer. Ray, on the run from the police, is fatally wounded and manages to transfer his soul to a good guy doll. A day later, Mama Karen Barkley so happens to buy the possessed good guy doll from a peddler.
I'll take it.
There you go, lady. May it bring you and your kid a lot of joy, huh?
What makes Chucky so much more scarier than the rest of the dolls on this list is his range of expressions.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch! You filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
Coming in at number 1 is Puppet Master. Puppet Master is a ridiculous, over-the-top 80s horror flick, and it introduced us not only to one doll, but a gang of them.
Blade, Pinhead, Jester, Leech Woman, and Tunneler.
The plot is super messy. I'll give it a try though, so here it goes. Andre Toulon is a puppet master residing at Seaside Bodega Bay, California, animates his dolls with ancient Egyptian magic. Rather than Nazis get a hold of his knowledge, he kills himself. Fast forward 50 years later, a team of psychics in search of ancient mysteries have determined that their leader, Neil Gallagher, knows where Toulon has died. They all have spooky visions and decide to meet him at Bodega Bay. Upon their arrival, they learn Neil has shot himself. They decide to stay anyway and ends up being stalked by the dolls, endure creepy visions, and eventually killed. It's a lot to take on story-wise, but with its killer dolls and the unsettling stop motion, it was enough for me to never let my feet dangle over my bed at night.
You little minx.
How are there so many leeches in that tiny doll? Where do they all come from? So that's my top 5. What are some of your picks for the scariest horror movies with evil dolls? Like, share, comment below, and let me know.